On the night of January 2nd, 2026, the Venezuelan sky was supposed to be the most dangerous airspace in the Western Hemisphere. For years, Moscow had touted Caracas as a fortress protected by the S-300 Victor Mike and the Pantsir S-1, systems marketed as the ultimate deterrent to American air power. Russian defense contractors had sold these systems with promises of supersonic death for any aircraft daring enough to enter Venezuelan airspace. But as the first waves of Operation Absolute Resolve crossed the coast, that fortress didn't just fail, it vanished. Turns out when the Russians say impenetrable fortress, they mean it the same way a used car salesman means gently driven by a little old lady. And brother, this old lady drove it straight into a ditch. The operation began at 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time on January 2nd when President Trump gave the order. Within minutes, more than 150 aircraft launched from 20 different bases across the Western Hemisphere. This wasn't just an operation, it was an orchestrated symphony of American air power. The electronic warfare layer deployed first. 6 EA-18G Growlers flooded the Venezuelan radar bands with jamming signals so dense that S-300 crews were reportedly watching screens of pure static while the entire air armada flew overhead. The Growler carries next-generation jammer pods that generate electronic noise across multiple frequencies simultaneously. The operation leveraged non-kinetic effects from U.S. Space Command and Cyber Command to suppress Venezuelan integrated air defense systems before a single kinetic strike occurred. Supporting the Growlers were F-35 Lightning IIs from all three variants, Air Force F-35As, Marine F-35Bs, and Navy F-35Cs. Each used their radar and sensor fusion to map every active radar site in real time, relaying data instantly to the entire fleet. F-22 Raptors flew at near-space altitudes, providing top-tier air dominance. Their job was simple. If any Venezuelan pilot reached a cockpit, they wouldn't survive long enough to retract their landing gear. F-18 Super Hornets from Carrier Air Wings provided additional strike capability and combat air patrol. Overhead, E-2D Advanced Hawkeye aircraft provided airborne early warning and battle management, coordinating the movements of dozens of aircraft simultaneously. The unmanned component was equally critical, RQ-170. Sentinel stealth drones provided persistent surveillance over Caracas, while MQ-9 Reapers and RQ-4 Global Hawks monitored Venezuelan military movements. Venezuela's layered defense network, consisting of S-300 long-range systems, Book M2 medium-range batteries, and Pantsir S-1 short-range complexes, never engaged. Analysis of video footage shows no visible surface-to-air missile launches, no radar lock warnings, no tracer fire. The Russian-made systems, delivered as recently as mid-2025, simply did not activate. You know what they say, the best air defense system is the one that looks good in a brochure and then doesn't work when you need it. Really saves on ammunition costs. With the radar environment neutralized, B-1B Lancers provided runway management, utilizing precision-guided munitions to crater taxiways at El Libertador Air Base and multiple secondary airfields. The B-1 can carry more than 75,000 pounds of munitions. The goal was to ensure that even if Venezuelan pilots reached their jets, they'd have nowhere to take off from. It's like slashing someone's tires, except the tires are an entire runway and the car is a Russian-made Su-30. Satellite imagery confirmed the destruction of at least 4 Russian-made Buk M2 surface-to-air missile batteries. Russian military advisors who had been training Venezuelan crews on these systems were reportedly evacuated days before the operation. Nothing says, "We believe in our product," quite like getting the hell out of town right before someone tests it. High above, B-2 Spirit stealth bombers provided strategic oversight. These flying wings can carry 40,000 pounds of ordnance, including bunker-busting penetrators. Venezuelan leadership would have known that no amount of concrete could protect them if the mission parameters changed. Behind all of this, the enablers kept the operation running. KC-135 Stratotankers and KC-130J, Hercules provided aerial refueling, transferring thousands of pounds of fuel mid-flight. HC-130J Combat King aircraft stood ready to conduct combat search and rescue if any aircraft went down. With conventional air power maintaining absolute dominance, the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment executed the close-in extraction. Their motto is, "Night Stalkers don't quit," which really undersells it. A more accurate motto would be, "We'll fly a helicopter through hell while you're shooting at us and still get you home in time for breakfast." They use the MH-60M Blackhawk DAP, or Direct Action Penetrator. The DAP is equipped with two M134 miniguns, two 30mm M230 chain guns, and pylons for Hellfire missiles and Hydra 70 rockets. This configuration allows it to navigate tight urban corridors while providing devastating fire support. The MH-6 Little Birds, accompanied by their sister attack variant AH-6, dropped Delta Force operators directly onto the Miraflores Palace under cover of a coordinated citywide blackout. The Little Bird is essentially a flying motorcycle with guns. It can carry 4 operators on external benches and squeeze into impossibly tight spaces. Finally, the MH-47 Golf Chinooks landed to extract the package. These massive tandem rotor helicopters can carry 33 combat-loaded troops, or 24,000 pounds of cargo. They flew at treetop level during exfiltration, using night vision goggles and terrain-following radar to navigate mountainous terrain in complete darkness. As you may have noticed, they are kind of ugly. Anyways, throughout the entire operation, not a single surface-to-air missile was fired at American aircraft. The Pentagon confirmed 0 aircraft losses, 0 battle damage, and 0 casualties. The S-300 system has a theoretical maximum engagement range of 250 kilometers and can supposedly track up to 100 targets simultaneously. In practice, it tracked 0 and engaged 0. That's what we call in the business not getting your money's worth. After a brief stop on the USS Iwo Jima, Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores were transferred to an FBI-operated Gulfstream G-50. This long-range business jet is capable of flying 6,750 nautical miles without refueling and is commonly used for high-priority prisoner extraditions. The Gulfstream served as the final transport to Stewart Air National Guard Base in New York, where Maduro was formally taken into federal custody on drug trafficking and terrorism charges. There's something deeply American about extracting a dictator with a fleet of military aircraft and then flying him to his arraignment in a business jet. It's like getting kidnapped by people who also validate your parking. So for anyone counting, that's 17 unique aircraft types, each playing a key role in the mission. The visible success of the air operation was built on intelligence collection that stretched back months. CIA assets operating clandestinely in Caracas had mapped Maduro's pattern of life, security rotations, and the layout of reinforced safe rooms within the palace. Delta Force operators walked into a building they had already memorized from a full-scale replica constructed at a classified training facility. U.S. intelligence agencies had obtained detailed technical specifications of Venezuela's air defense network, including radar frequencies, engagement envelopes, and the locations of every mobile launcher. When the electronic warfare aircraft began jamming operations, they knew exactly which frequencies to target. When kinetic strikes began, they knew exactly where each system was positioned. The failure of Russian air defenses wasn't a malfunction. It was the result of the United States having comprehensive intelligence on those systems long before the first aircraft crossed into Venezuelan airspace. Operation Absolute Resolve served as a live fire demonstration of American capabilities to 3 nations watching very closely: China, Russia, and Iran. For Beijing, the operation showcased the ability to project overwhelming force across hemispheres with less than 24 hours of preparation. The 150 aircraft package from 20 different bases represented a fraction of available American air power, yet achieved complete air dominance over a nation defended by modern Russian systems. Chinese military planners studying a Taiwan scenario now have concrete evidence of how quickly American forces can suppress integrated air defenses. The PLA's own air defense network, much of which is based on reverse-engineered Russian technology, faces similar vulnerabilities. The HQ-9 system, China's answer to the S-300, uses similar engagement principles and radar bands. If the S-300 can be jammed and bypassed, so can its Chinese cousin. The coordination required to manage 150 aircraft from 20 locations, all converging on target within a compressed time window, demonstrates a level of command and control capability that China is still working to replicate. China does love replicating things. For Moscow, the operation was a public humiliation of their premier export air defense systems. Russia has built much of its arms export business on the promise that S-300 and S-400 systems can deny airspace to American aircraft. Venezuela was equipped with modern variants, operated by Russian-trained crews with Russian advisors on hand, and they failed to engage a single target during a multi-hour operation involving 150 aircraft. Countries like India and Turkey, which operate S-400 systems, are now re-evaluating their investments. The marketing pitch was simple. Russian systems are cheaper than American alternatives and nearly as effective. Venezuela just proved that nearly as effective means completely ineffective when facing actual U.S. military capabilities. It's hard to sell a product after everyone just watched it fail on live television. For Tehran, the message is even more direct. Iran's integrated air defense network is built around Russian S-300 systems, supplemented by indigenous copies like the Bavar 373. Iranian leadership watched American aircraft systematically dismantle Venezuelan defenses without a single loss. They now understand that their own defenses, regardless of how many layers they add, can be suppressed and destroyed by American electronic warfare and precision strike capabilities. Iran has invested billions in air defenses specifically to protect nuclear facilities at Natanz and Fordo. The Venezuelan operation demonstrated that those defenses would likely fare no better. The deep underground facilities might survive initial strikes, but entrances, ventilation systems, and power infrastructure would be destroyed, rendering them inoperable. Perhaps most significantly, the operation occurred without meaningful international response. Russia issued diplomatic protests but took no military action. China called for restraint but did nothing concrete. Iran remained silent. This lack of response reveals a cold calculation. Direct confrontation with U.S. military power carries unacceptable risks. The credibility of security guarantees from Moscow and Beijing has been severely damaged. The speed and decisiveness of Operation Absolute Resolve has recalibrated strategic thinking in capitals worldwide. The United States demonstrated not just the capability to execute complex military operations against defended targets, but the political will to do so when deemed necessary. That combination of capability and will is what creates deterrence. The air armada that silenced Caracas, from the growlers that blinded the radars to the Gulf Stream that flew Maduro to New York, sent a message that resonated far beyond Venezuela's borders. When the United States decides to act, fortress walls made of Russian promises won't stand in the way.